This gap between the rich and everybody else is reaching critical proportions. And I think one of the biggest crises is the young people. Today's young unemployed become tomorrow's unemployable. They lose valuable jobs, training skills. So what's happening in America today, savers are losers. You know, most parents say to their kids, go to school and save money and work hard. But in 1970, when I graduated from school, $1 million at 15% interest earned me $150,000 a year. Now, you could live on $150,000 a year back then. But in 2016, due to this thing called quantitative easing, I call it the Greenspan put, it's $1 million at negative 5 basis points. It's going to cost you $1 million to save $1 million. That is how deteriorated our financial systems have become. And this is one of the causes between the gap between the rich and the poor. The other thing that's happening when people's incomes go down, they become dependent. Now, the U.S. government tells us that poverty has been beaten in America. Well, maybe poverty has been beaten, but what has increased is the entitlement mentality. The attitude that the government and other people should take care of me. As I said, it's a moral crisis as well as a spiritual crisis. I learned in Sunday school, give and you shall receive. And too many people today think they should receive. This is the other crisis here, is Social Security. I've met so many people my age, there's about 75 million baby boomers. I'm at the top of the baby boom chain. We expect the government to take care of us. That's a lot of highly educated people. That is a crisis. So in 2002, I published this book, Rich Dad's Prophecy. 14 years later, the prediction was that 2016, there'd be a global financial crash. In the first 10 years of this century, we have had 3 major crashes. In 2000 was the dot-com crash, followed by the 2006 real estate subprime crash, and then 2008, the banking crash. The question is this next? This is the giant crash of 1929. And every time I listen to those guys on CNBC, I call it bubble vision, they keep talking about the giant crash of 1929. I tell you what, it doesn't even compare to this one coming, you know? So that's why I write and I speak, and I'm very concerned about our futures, our well-being, and the state of the economy. So I'm going to be talking today about why the rich are getting richer. Commercial message, my next book coming out. But I'll explain some of the tricks of the trade, why guys like me get richer and everybody else does not. And this is quite interesting. This is one of the reasons the rich are getting richer. These are the Bush tax cuts. The biggest tax cuts goes to the top 1/10%. Thank you, George. I appreciate that. My banker has never asked me my grade point average of what school I went to. My banker wants to see my financial statement. And the reason most people can't get loans is they don't have a financial statement. They don't even know what it is when they leave school, even college graduates. The reason I can borrow hundreds of millions of dollars, I have a strong financial statement. It's financial literacy. And this here is very simply it's income, expense, asset, liabilities. Poor dad always said go to school and get a high-paying job. The problem with education, they teach you to be employees. Rich dad taught me to be an entrepreneur, acquiring assets. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. Assets are very simple. You can plant an apple seed, and the apple seed grows into a tree. You harvest the apples, you sell the apples, you reinvest your profits, and you keep building an orchard. That's how you get rich. Or a friend of mine, when he was in high school, his grandma gave him some chickens. Those chickens laid eggs. He sold the eggs and reinvested it. And when he was 45, I think he sold his business. He was selling 10 million eggs a day to Costco and Walmart. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to build assets. Just buy a couple of chickens, okay? It's kind of funny, you know, really. So the power of words, financial literacy begins with words because words affect your brain. As my poor dad always said, I can't afford it. You know, in Sunday school I learned the word becomes flesh. Every time you say you can't afford it, you say, I'm poor, I'm a loser, I can't do something, I'm helpless. The government should take care of me. Disgusting. Rich dad taught me, how can I afford it? So when I had no money, my wife and I just kept saying, well, how can I afford it? And pretty soon your mind opens up, and that's when intelligence comes in. Most important words in money are basic. There's only 4: assets, liabilities, cash flow. That's it. That's where financial literacy starts. Assets, liabilities, and cash flow. You understand those 4 words basically, then you can build your vocabulary. Money has a language, but it's not taught in school. It's taught job security versus being an entrepreneur. Look for job security instead of go for financial freedom. It's somebody should take care of you instead of I'm going to take care of other people. As an entrepreneur, I have thousands of employees. That's my job. To create other jobs, give them a safe life. So number 1 is assets. Number 2 is liabilities, cash flow. These are liabilities. The reason the poor and middle class grow poor is because they think their house is an asset. If you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I said several things. Savers are losers, and your house is not an asset. This came out in 1997 and 2007. The subprime market crashed, and tens of millions of people throughout the world found out their house was a liability. Look, if you use the wrong word to describe the wrong issue, you will always be stupid and broke. So don't call a liability an asset. And that's why so many people are broke. They're using the wrong words. The words become flesh. Financial literacy. Change your words, change your life. Never say I can't afford it. Ask yourself, how can I afford it? Work to acquire assets, not liabilities.